Hey everyone, Mike here from Videomaker with my review of the GoPro HERO4 Session. Now if you follow us over on Videomaker.com, you may have already read my text review, which came out the week the session came out. But if you only follow us on YouTube or only watch our videos, this is new to you. So without any further ado, here we go. So for this review, I'd like to discuss a few main things about the HERO4 Session. One is the image quality, obviously. The second is the new form factor, which is brand new for GoPro. The other is the ecosystem and the new accessories that are available and lack thereof. And then finally, everything else that sort of doesn't fit in any category. I'll cover that as well, like the new microphone setup. So let's talk about the form factor first and foremost. It's obviously the most striking feature of the HERO4 Session. This sort of cube shape is brand new to GoPro, and frankly, the shape, the size is amazing. I really, really like it. You know, when I tested it out, I did a lot of motorcycle shots, and so I had to mount this in several different places, on helmets, and then on the motorcycle itself, on the handlebars, on the frame, and as a result, you know, you have to sort of orient the camera in all kinds of different angles. And this cuboidal shape makes it so that when you fit it in the case here, and it can go in pretty much either direction, I'll show it to you on this shot, it fits in, you know, vertically oriented, button on top. And then if you have to mount it sideways, you know, it pops right out, and you can just, you know, turn it sideways. And it fits, just like that, as if you had mounted it normally. Additionally, there's a feature here where when you mount this upside down, it detects that it's upside down and automatically flips the video for you. So when you're shooting and it's underslung, like for example, if you have it on the chin of a helmet and it's hanging downwards, the HERO4 Session knows that it's upside down and will flip the video. Really, really handy. Well, you know what? I take that back. It's handy. I wouldn't say super handy. It's not terribly difficult to flip the video in post-production. Of course, if you're going straight from the camera to, you know, your phone and online, that sort of flip is a little easier because it would be harder to do on your phone than on your computer. Second thing that's really cool is it's waterproof right out of the box up to 10 meters, or about 30 feet approximately. So what this means is if you're doing any kind of water sports like surfing, wakeboarding, or if you're just going swimming in the backyard or going on a slip and slide, this thing is ready to go right out of the box. No need for, you know, to wrap it in a case or anything. So that's a really, really great feature. It makes taking it right out of the box and start to shoot right away really, really easy. I love that when you put it in the case, and you know, it's almost not even a case really, it's more like just this skeleton frame, right? It's open on all sides, so you have access to the buttons no matter how it's oriented, unless you put it in upside down. But again, I talked about the auto flip, so there's no reason to really put it in upside down. If you want it upside down, just put it in one of the other 3 orientations and it'll flip itself. So now let's talk about the bad things about this new form factor. You know, I said I really love it, and for the most part I do, but there are a few things about it that kind of bug me. First off, I mentioned how I used it to take some motorcycle shots. Now, a big pain here is, unlike the original GoPro form factor, which comes in this case, I'll show it on this screen, and it has these big bold buttons sticking out that are really springy. It's really easy to tell when they're pressed. This has no case, and all the buttons are flush. They're perfectly flat. And this is a button here, actually. Let's see if I can get the light on it. Right there. And if you're wearing gloves, these are impossible to tell if you're touching, and the feedback of pressing them is difficult to feel. So, you know, if you're doing any kind of sports where you need to wear gloves, you know, riding a motorcycle, or, you know, if you're snowboarding or anything like that, you almost have to take your gloves off just to, you know, tell if you're pressing the button. Similarly, if you have to access it somewhere where you can't see it, you know, reach around somewhere or behind you, if you need to not look at it, or you can't look at it, you can't feel where the buttons are. Now, you kind of know where they are, the way you mounted it, but if there's any confusion there, if you don't remember which angle it went in, you can't really feel those buttons unless you take your gloves off if you're wearing gloves. And even when you're not wearing gloves, if you're in the water or something, it's flush enough to where it's almost difficult to feel. So that's kind of a pain, really more of an annoyance than a major downfall, but that kind of bothers me. Now I mentioned how it's waterproof right out of the box, and that is a big benefit, but the downside is it doesn't need a waterproof case, but that also means it doesn't have a waterproof case. There's not even one for sale. So if you're a scuba diver or you plan on going, lower than 10 meters underwater, I don't know what else you'd use it for, chuck it in the bottom of a lake, I guess, and seeing what's down there. You don't have any options like this. This camera just won't work for you. Maybe GoPro will put out something in the future. Maybe a third party will come out with a dive case. But as of now, there's no option there, so stick with another camera, I guess, if you're a scuba diver. Another downside here is, the screen here is nice in that you can read it pretty easily. See if I can show this on the camera over here. It's sharp and it's bright, but there's like no options on this. So unless you're using your phone or the GoPro remote, you can't change any of the settings here on the fly. In fact, I'll cycle through the entire menu here so you can see. So when you hit the button, you get this one. Also slow to pop up, by the way. So there it is. This is all you get when you click it. Hit it again and it says Wi-Fi on or off. Let's see, we're gonna be, you're gonna add a new device and exit, and that's it. So you pretty much have to pair this with a phone or a remote in order to use it at all. The menu controls are simple. There's 2 buttons. Now, the Hero 4, and I'm going to hold this up here, and this one's, the screen is broken, so I can't cycle through. Sorry about that crack there. We abuse our GoPros around here. Effectively has 3 buttons. Well, it actually does have 3 buttons, but you can kind of navigate things with 2. So power and record, and there's a settings button here. But basically it's cycle through the options and then select. I might have those backwards. And it seems like that would work here as well with this tiny screen, but they just didn't put the settings in there. So you have to pair it, and that's kind of a hassle, like I said, especially if you're doing anything in the water or the snow where you don't want to bring out your phone or drop your phone in the water or have it slip out of your hands or something. You got to use the phone or the remote, and major inconvenience. Also, there's no connection port in the back for an external monitor, and in fact, if you open up the side panel here, there's also no HDMI input. Let's see if I can get the light on this so you can see it. Might be out of luck here. You can kind of see it there. But there's no HDMI here, so you can't output the video or anything. So in order to preview, you have to use the smartphone, like I said. So, GoPro really is pushing this connectivity with the smartphone. Now, generally, I like that functionality of being able to connect to your smartphone, but making it mandatory is a major inconvenience, especially considering the connectivity between the GoPro and the smartphone, just like it's always been with GoPro, is kind of spotty. So in my experience, what I did was I would connect it, frame up my shot, start recording for a while, but then when I wanted to go check it again, I'd pull out my smartphone, and of course it had disconnected and hooked onto some other Wi-Fi, or gone back to my LTE connection, and I had to go through the process of reconnecting to that Wi-Fi hotspot from the GoPro itself. And so it's, hardly a quick and easy process. So, it's nice to have as an option, but it really kind of sucks to have it as a mandatory tool. Also, one thing that I did experience with the Session, and maybe I just had bad luck, maybe not everyone experiences this, I've never experienced this with any other type of GoPro, is it froze up on me, and it wouldn't turn on. Like my first thought was it's out of batteries, so I plugged it in and tried to turn on, and still nothing. Like, it just wouldn't turn on. And the only way to get it activated again was to go through GoPro's reset process, which is a major inconvenience. I needed to take this GoPro out and shoot on a relatively quick timetable, and it took me a good 20 minutes to get it going because I wasn't familiar with the process of resetting a GoPro, like doing the factory reset. I eventually got it going, and it's worked fine since then, but it can happen, apparently. And again, I don't know how infrequently this happens, but it happened to me. Okay, so now let's talk about the image quality. I can sum it up by saying the image quality is just not that great. And in reality, if you buy this right off the shelf and it's your first GoPro, you're gonna use it and you're not gonna really think about the image quality. It's gonna look like It's going to look fine, I guess. It really is noticeable when you start to compare the video from the HERO4 Session to other action cameras. And when I say other action cameras, I'm going to talk about the GoPro HERO4 Silver. Now, in my tests, I compared it to the GoPro HERO4 Black, which is not exactly a fair comparison. The HERO4 Black is $100 more. I don't have a GoPro HERO4 Silver, but many on YouTube have done these tests, and you can see the side-by-side video footage. In fact, I'll link you some footage. In fact, let's put the video footage right here. You can click on it to see the comparison between the two. But the HERO4 Silver is the exact same price as the HERO4 Session, and on the Session, the video quality is noticeably worse. Now, it goes without saying that the video footage that I shot with the GoPro HERO4 Black was also much better than the HERO4 Session. But again, not an exactly a great comparison, so the Silver is the better comparison. Still, it does underscore the fact that the footage out of this camera is not that great when compared to other cameras in the GoPro line. Now, in my tests comparing it to the HERO4 Black, the HERO4 Session's video quality was much softer, much higher contrast. You couldn't really get that flat look that you can out of the HERO4 Black. And so overall, the flexibility that you get from the HERO4 Session is just doesn't match with the HERO4 Black. And if you look at the comparisons that others have done on the HERO4 Session versus the Silver, the comparisons are about the same, and the difference is about the same. Now, part of that comes from the fact that the HERO4 Session has effectively no Pro Tune options. Interestingly, if you fire up your phone with the HERO4 Session connected, you will get an option to enable Pro Tune, but there's only two settings. One is ISO limit, and it's limited to 400 or 1600 ISO, so not that many options there. And the second is sharpness on or off. So you can think again about getting the exact controls that you would out of any of the other GoPro Heroes. And you're not going to get that flat look that's going to allow you that flexibility in post. I would imagine most users don't care about Pro Tune. They just want to connect the camera and go, or turn it on and go. So, take that for what you will. Videomaker viewers and readers are a different breed. We like this kind of stuff, and it's really disappointing that the Pro Tune settings are so lacking in the Session. The maximum frames per second you're going to get on the HERO4 Session is going to be 100 frames per second in 720p, which doesn't compare to the HERO4 Silver, which goes up to 120. In fact, actually it goes up to 240 if you shoot in WVGA mode, so, really lacking there. And then finally, no 4K on the HERO4 Session, which kind of sucks, but, if you ask me, it's not a deal breaker. The HERO4 Silver does have 4K, but it only goes up to 15 frames per second, so it's almost not even video. So, 4K is still kind of an early adopter technology, so the fact that it's not there is not a huge deal, but kind of sucks. It'd be nice if it was there. As far as low light goes, low light is not as good as the other GoPros. The HERO4 Black that we tested against is not as good as that. But, to be honest, all GoPros suck at low light. In fact, you just shouldn't shoot with this in low light with any GoPro. They're not good. So let's talk about all the other things about it, the grab bag of features or lack of features, so to speak. First thing, this GoPro has a new feature with the microphone setup that is unlike any of the other GoPros, and it actually works pretty well. Now, I don't know if you can see it on our close-up shot here, but there's actually two microphones, one in the front, one in the back. Let's see. First one is right up here, see these little dots right there. And the second one in the back is right back here. And the goal here is to reduce wind noise. So as wind comes at the GoPro, if it's coming from the front, it'll switch to, dynamically, it'll switch to using the back microphone, and then vice versa. If it's coming from the back, it'll switch to using the front microphone. Now, in addition to that, since you don't have to enclose it in a completely enclosed case like the other GoPros, you have the two exposed microphones, and sound quality is quite a bit better. That being said, GoPros aren't known for their great sound, and this is no exception, but it is better, so that's good. It does have improved wind noise, so in a light breeze, the two microphones and the dynamic switching works pretty well. But if you're shooting at high speeds like I was on the motorcycle, the wind is still going to overtake anything. Now it does switch to the rear microphone. It does sort of dampen the wind noise, but don't expect any usable audio out of it. It's not as jarring to hear. It's not like this sharp, rumbling wind that you would get out of the other GoPro, but it's not great either. I mean, you can't listen to it. Put some music on it or use another microphone or something like that. Don't expect miracles from this microphone setup. That said, when we were stopped at a light, it sounded great. No wind noise, both microphones were picking up the sounds, and it worked really well. The battery life is pretty good. It got about an hour 45 when we were shooting constantly at 1080p 60. And an hour of 45 I would be really happy with if it had removable batteries, which it does not. Big disappointment. In fact, if you ask me if there's anything that's a deal breaker about this camera, it's the fact that you can't swap out the batteries. So if you're shooting constantly, like I would on a motorcycle, it's going for an hour 45. And if you want to keep shooting, I hope you have a second HERO4 Session that you can use while this one's charging. It takes about 2 hours to charge the whole thing, so you can basically cycle them if you have two cameras, but why not just get some batteries? GoPro batteries are pretty cheap for the HERO4 silver and black, so it'd be so nice if we had swappable batteries on the Session. Now the Session does ship with this new mount, which I absolutely love. And let's see, I'm going to put it up here. You saw it just a few minutes ago. I'll put the camera in here just for funsies. And I'll show it to you here on this camera. So it's got this little ball mount here. And this is great because, I'm going to clamp this down. This is great because as you're mounting things, it gives you just enough, motion here to fix small things like it being level. Just off, if it's off a little bit, this ball mount helps with that. Also, if all of the new GoPro mounts that come with the HERO4 Session have this rubber flap here, and it might be easier if I pull this out now so you can see this. And what this does is, as you mount it, this comes up, this clamps into place, and then this rubber piece fits back in and basically makes it impossible for it to come out because it keeps this from pinching. Really love this clamp and this mount. So, this will be usable for any GoPro. You can just pop this this skeleton case off and put your other GoPro on. Unfortunately, as of today, as of the date that I'm shooting this, which is July 31st, this isn't for sale outside of bundled with the HERO4 Session. I hope that it is in the future. I expect that it will be in the future, and if it's not, I'm sure some third party will make these and sell them on their own. But it's a great mount. If you want one, don't buy the HERO4 Session just for this. But I will say that one of these mounts should be in any GoPro enthusiast's arsenal. So I mentioned how it doesn't have removable batteries, which is a big bummer. Another big bummer is it doesn't have any sort of battery backpack like the other GoPros. So if you look on the back, of any traditional GoPro, you got this connection port here, which connects a monitor, but you can also charge it here with a battery backpack. It's just an external battery pack that goes on the back. No such thing for this. Obviously, there's no connection port. Now maybe they'll come out with something in the future, which connects just straight into the USB. But that's not a great option because this thing is, waterproof. And if this door is open, this is the seal right here, this white thing, which seals around these connection ports. So if this is open, waterproof factor is gone. And now finally, one downside which most people don't care about, but some might, is it's incompatible with HeroCast. HEROcast is basically what broadcasters use to connect and transmit wireless video from a GoPro, not this one obviously, to an RF receiver for something like live, sporting events or something like that. Just doesn't work with the HERO4 Session. Again, most people probably don't care about that kind of thing, so it's a small downside, but there it is nonetheless. Okay, so bottom line, what do I think about this? There's a lot of factors here, and they're not weighted equally. So it comes down to, would I recommend someone buy this? And really the answer is no. It's $400, which is the exact same price, as I mentioned, to the GoPro HERO4 Silver, which, if you look at any of the video and you look at any of the tech specs and you consider the ecosystem of mounts and accessories and all that kind of thing, the HERO4 Silver is just the better camera at the exact same price. The only thing you don't get is this cool form factor, which, like I said, I love this form factor. It doesn't get much better than this, frankly, because of the 90-degree turns, the auto flip, and the fact that it's super small and low profile. But for me, I can't recommend that, you sacrifice functionality for form in this case. And there's a few deal breakers. I already mentioned the one big deal breaker for me is the lack of removable battery. So that might not be a deal breaker for many, just because you might need to take some video playing out on the slip and slide or something, and you don't need to shoot for an hour 45 straight. You can charge it frequently, so that's fine. If you're that kind of person, maybe you should consider it. But the other factors of poor image quality, I shouldn't say poor necessarily, but subpar image quality, no way to connect a monitor of any kind, no way to connect a battery backpack of any kind, and no way to play with advanced Pro Tune settings. It's just really, really hard to recommend at $400. At $200, it'd be great. I'd say at $200, yeah, okay, buy two of them, and two HERO4 Sessions for the same price of a HERO4 Silver is actually a pretty good deal, but not the case. So I was thinking about this new form factor and thinking about how this camera came out mid-cycle for GoPro. They release their cameras typically in the fall, around November, and this one came out in July. So it's kind of mid-cycle, and my thought is maybe this is their way of kind of testing the waters for this new form factor, and maybe their goal is to release a new line of GoPros that are all this form factor. That would be nice on one hand, because I do like the cube shape and its ability to rotate and the sort of native waterproof factor of it. But the more I think about it, the more I think it's a bad idea that they use this for all GoPros. Now the reason for that is simple. While the cube factor is nice, and the menus and the screen, while not executed well here because of their lack of functionality, could be more powerful. The other aspects of it just kind of suck. The main thing is no removable battery, and I don't know what's inside this thing. I don't really want to take it apart to find out, but if you can't pull that battery out, it's just a big flop. If the GoPro Hero 5 comes out with no removable battery, there'll be riots in the streets. Or at least there'll be riots in the streets outside the Videomaker office. So that's pretty much it. Should you buy it? No. Get the HERO4 Silver, or better yet, the HERO4 Black instead. Even if you like the cube shape and the form factor, I have to imagine that novelty is going to wear off quickly, considering for just a few bucks you can get a right angle mount for your standard GoPro, and then the form factor has nothing on the regular GoPros. So I hope this review has been helpful. As always, if you like Videomaker and Videomaker content, I encourage you to sign up to our email newsletter. The link is over here, out there, and we'll send you reviews and articles straight to your inbox. Also, we have a host of videos down below. You can check those out. The middle one is for Videomaker Plus members, so if you're a Plus member, please enjoy that video, and if you're not a Plus member, consider signing up at videomaker.com. And that's it. I've been Mike at Videomaker. Hey, if you have any opinions about this review or the HERO4 Session in general, leave a comment or tweet us at Videomaker. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this kind of thing. And am I right? Am I right about how this is not the greatest camera, or am I off base? Let me know. Until next time, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching.